Gaurachan Goswami. In another room, he had the Goswamis headed by Madan Mohan Goswami. They lived right across the courtyard from each other, but didn't speak to each other for years. They were always battling. So Prabhupada that day was able to make an agreement to get his 2 rooms for life by rental, because they were also battling for those 2 rooms. Then the Sarafs, they signed the agreement to turn over the land. The next day Prabhupada did the groundbreaking ceremony. So that evening, Prabhupada called Guru Das. And he took out, Prabhupada always carried a little bag with him. He took out 2 keys, very old keys. And he said, he handed them to Guru Das. He said, "You guard these with your life." So Guru Das took them and he tied a string to them, and he tied the string inside of his bead bag because he knew he would never lose his bead bag, so the keys would stay there. But Prabhupada didn't tell him what to do with the keys. He just told him to guard them with your life. So a few months later, Prabhupada came back and he said, no, he sent a letter to Guru Das. He said, "Those keys are the keys to my 2 rooms at the Radha Damodar temple. I want you to go there. I want you to open up the rooms. And anything that's not of significant value, you burn. And anything that's of value, you save." So Guru Das, he didn't feel confident to do this alone. So he asked Jamuna and his friend Giriraj, because the 3 of them had been sent by Prabhupada to open a temple in Delhi. So they were all very closely united. Giriraj took Jamuna and Guru Das to be his parents, his Krishna conscious parents. So he asked them to come and open the rooms with him. And first he couldn't get the lock open. It hadn't been open for years. Finally he opened it, and there were all of Prabhupada's papers in his room. He had all of his Back to Godhead stacked up. He had his list of life members. He had his day's ointment advertisement. He had all of his subscription papers. Everything was there. And there also were these letters. And this is how we were able to get all of these letters from that time that Guru Das first opened up the room. And they were all preserved. So these letters, by the grace of our senior devotees, we have these letters still to learn how to preach to prime ministers. Among Abhai's former Bombay contacts was Mr. Harbans Lal, a landlord who had once assured Abhay that he would provide him lodging whenever he needed. In the summer of 1958, Abhay went to call on Mr. Harbans Lal, only to find that he had gone to the West. When Abhay learned that Mr. Harbans Lal was traveling not only on business, but on a cultural mission, his imagination seized on the idea of an Indian on a cultural mission in the West. He wrote to Mr. Harbans Lal asking for a place to stay, but also presenting his own cultural mission. So I have that letter also, because in this letter, Prabhupada explains what his future plan is for bringing the Vedic culture to the Western world. My dear Harbans Lalji, I am very glad to learn that you have now gone to foreign countries for tour on business as well as cultural mission. And I hope that you are enjoying there both your good health as well as the trouting experience. We had a German friend, Indian, domiciled for the past 20 years, who is a great scholar in several languages. He used to say that in Germany especially, wherever an Indian goes, especially the student, the Germans receive him well in the proportion of his Indian cultural knowledge. Now, we had that experience if you read the biography of Bhakti Charu Swami. What's it? Causeless mercy. Ocean of Mercy. He went to Germany as a student. Now, when he lived in India, he wasn't so spiritually inclined. But when he went to Germany and he saw the Western culture and he saw the need of spiritual life, there he became spiritually inclined. And he decided to come back to India to learn the roots of his own spiritual culture. So at this time, Prabhupada is speaking about his German godbrother who came here with Ban Maharaj, who lived here and became a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So that there in Germany, they received them in proportion to their Indian cultural knowledge, because they were seeking knowledge at that time, the Indian knowledge, Vedic knowledge. Scholars and thinkers in Europe, especially in Germany and Russia, know it well that for learning about cultural knowledge, nobody can surpass the Indians who have a background of centuries engaged in spiritual investigation. According to Indian way of thought, everyone is advised to do good to others, namely not only to the human society, but also to living beings other than human beings. Now this is the greatest complaint that Srila Prabhupada had about Pandit Nehru. As soon as he took over as Prime Minister, he paid one Dr. Mukherjee to write a book, how it's authorized and perfectly all right, according to the Vedic Shastras, to engage in cow slaughter. And Nehru opened up cow slaughterhouses for the first time in India. Not only did he do that, he opened up cow slaughtering, but he made the first law that allowed divorce, which was never allowed previously in India. So those two things he did. Prabhupada, he explained that previous to that, in India, in Indian culture, not during the time of the invasions of the Mughals and the British, everyone followed according to the Manu Samhita. Those were the laws for humanity. And of course, cow slaughter and divorce were prohibited according to Manu Samhita. But then Prabhupada says, we're not trying to go back to reinstate all of the laws of Manu Samhita. That's not possible in this day and age. But at least, also to living beings other than human beings, at least we have to treat the animals on the same level that we would treat our own self. The Indians are not cow worshippers, as others wrongly interpret it, but the Indians are gratitudeful to the species of cow for supplying milk to the human babies, and the sentiment is so fine that simply for supplying milk, the cow is accepted as one of the 7 mothers. That is called Indian cultural mission. Now, when the cow slaughterhouses were instituted here in India, there was a huge rioting and revolution by the sadhus. And that was the time when Mukunda said to Prabhupada, well, we want to go to India. And then Mukunda read in the newspapers that there was huge rioting going on because of the cow slaughter. And then he decided, well, it's not a good time to go to India. So then he went to San Francisco and they opened up the second temple, the San Francisco temple. So this was going on nationally. The religious people were not happy about the cow slaughtering that Nehru paid this doctor to write the book about. And then he also made this doctor a member of parliament for doing this work. So he was very much against the policies that were instituted by Nehru, Prabhupada. That is called Indian cultural mission. We should learn to look upon every living being as our own brother and treat him in that love. Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy began from this philosophy. of universal brotherhood, which is not restricted to the humankind, but to all the species of life. That is the sign of real intelligence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that a learned man looks upon a well-educated Brahmin who is well-behaved by education, and so also upon a Chandala who is accustomed to eat the dogs. And what is the purport of this equal vision? The purport is that we should look upon everyone as the spark of the Supreme Brahman, and we should not look upon the outer dress, which everyone has to give up one birth after another. So this, Prabhupada would also going back to Nehru and Gandhi. He would say, where is Gandhi now? Where is Nehru now? No one can tell us. But they felt themselves to be so important that they would not give up their posts, even up to the last moment of their life. So this Prabhupada, again and again, he's trying to convince people that do not work for materialism up to your last breath. You have to use this human life for preaching this real culture of universal brotherhood, and that will make people happy. I hope you will preach this Indian way of thinking everywhere in the foreign countries, wherever you have the opportunity. I think that people need this Indian message in this hour of necessity, when the atomic bomb is hovering over the head of the human society. So this was 1958, now it's 2023, and that atomic bomb is still hovering over the head. Every day you can read about it in the newspapers. When, who will drop the first bomb that will destroy the entire humanity? So nothing has changed. You know that I am attached with one cultural mission of the name of the League of Devotees, as well as Indian Cultural Congress, which is trying to broadcast this message of Para Upakar. The standard of Para Upakar should be such as will be useful both in the current life as well as life after death. Every sane man thinks of Para Upakar in that way. Temporary sense gratification is not real Para Upakar. Please therefore begin these Para Upakar activities in the foreign countries as you have gone there. I think your going there is another preaching of the Indian culture as above mentioned. I shall be glad to be in touch with you by correspondence so that I may be giving you my humble suggestion for this service. By the by, I may inform you that, as you know, I am passing my days in Bombay in great inconvenience for want of a suitable residential place. I may remind you in this connection that your goodness promised me some place in your flats as soon as one of them is vacant. I understand that some are going to be vacated soon, and I shall request you to help me by giving me a flat and thus mitigate my difficulties. And then the rest of the letter is missing, so it stops there. Yes. Clearly, Abai would have liked to have gone himself. He was giving advice to Mr. Harbanslal, but obviously Prabhupada wanted to go himself. Abai also reminded Mr. Harbanslal of his promise to provide him with an apartment. Wanting to go to the West as soon as possible, but the letter never caught up with the touring Mr. Harbanslal. The letter never even reached him, unfortunately, but we have the letter to learn from. Wanting to go to the West as soon as possible, Abai visited one of his godbrothers in Bombay, Kripa Sindhu, and asked him to help. So Kripa Sindhu, according to the biography of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that's written by Bhakti Vikas Swami, he has a list of all of the disciples' names at the back of the book in one of the appendices. The sannyasis, the babajis, the brahmacharis. So Kripa Sindhu, according to that list, was a grihasta disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who was stationed in Bombay. Sri Guru Gauranga, Vinoda, Vaibhavanandaji. That was the name of the temple. The Mutt in Bombay that Prabhupada originally, they wanted him to be the president of. Kripa Sindhu says, he came to my house and asked me to help him in going to America. He gave me some back to Godheads, which he said I could show to people and ask for help on his behalf. I tried to do something in this regard. I introduced Abhay Babu to one man, a big industrialist, Hemraj Khandawal. I went also. The three of us sat down and I told the man how Abhay wanted to go to the West and how he was a good devotee and was writing and doing so many things. But somehow or other, the man did not help. So we'll hear further Prabhupada's attempts in Bombay, and then finally how he returns to Vrindavan to concentrate on writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Jai.